Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's David Palmer, Leo King. We're here live for After Dark, the spiritual talk show on highvibe.tv. Make sure that you check us out on highvibe.tv, of course, where we've got apps and, of course, the awesome website with exclusive content and content that is free just like this. Of course, to keep this stuff on the air, we ask that you subscribe for the exclusive content, which is for the app. And tonight, I'm here with Sarah Paasch. I'm so happy to have you here tonight, Sarah.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I mean, the energy is very exciting. It's like a good word for it.
And it's change. I mean, even right now, we've changed the way that we're talking. I'm like,
yeah, I know.
I'm used to the like the other way, and now we're this way.
I gotta lean in on my left instead of my right.
But that is kind of the change of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like I'm very ready for change. Like Pluto's energy, stationing, about to go direct. It feels like any last kind of old stories you want to clean out or old messes you want to finish and wrap up. Yeah. They're all coming up.
Yeah, and we're live in the chat. I just wanted to shout out to everyone in the chat. Yeah. And if you guys have some questions, throw it at us, because I think tonight Sarah and I are going to be all over the place, but it'd be kind of cool to, you know, maybe answer some questions tonight. A little different. But, you know, first off to say, it is a pretty intense October.
Yeah, astrologically, yeah.
And just the vibe of it. Usually you kind of feel these months come in, but I feel like with all the Capricorn, it's like I don't feel time anymore like usual. And I think that's the weirdest part about even just saying, yeah, October is going to be nuts, but it's almost like, well, why aren't I don't even remember September shifting. I don't even remember August shifting. I just feel like it's been 1 year of change the whole time. I feel differently. I feel like I felt August and September really clearly, and I feel the shift coming into October also very clearly. And it's almost like the anticipation is like making sure to not get ahead of ourselves. I feel like the energy feels almost, I think I said it earlier, it almost feels ecliptic. Like it almost feels like that potency where with this Saturn Pluto, I mean, this is a big thing because we got to think the Saturn Pluto cycle is on its way out, right? Like the final months of the 34-year cycle, we're in Libra season where the conjunction happened in 82, 83. So this is like all of that stuff is just like every last piece of that cycle has to be completely closed before the new one begins in January. And I just feel like all these veils are just like like shattering, like just shattering. It's interesting too that Venus this week will actually be at all those degrees where Saturn and Pluto met in Libra in 82 and 83 and finish the week there.
With Mars coming in to Libra.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think collectively, like we're like on a level we're collectively, our consciousness is there. So it's any veil that's currently still living in that old paradigm that's like so outdated and still living in like that codependent kind of like all of that's just like it can't survive the closing of this cycle because this new cycle is beginning with Saturn, Pluto, and Capricorn, and the authority is like coming in strong, and it just feels like the power struggles are all up right now. And I've seen so many people in their relationships, like the oldest patterns are coming up to have cycles close, and it's just like, yeah, it's a lot of clearing.
Yeah, and it's especially like the old strings of a lot of past life stuff, or even just the strings of this life of just people that maybe it's been hard to finalize things. It's always the closer. It's like closing things. And I think that with Pluto, it's a receiving planet. You know, we always tend to think of it as like the destroyer. So with it coming direct in like the next 24 hours here on Wednesday night, it's like we always think of it as like, okay, it's closing, but closing means it receives something new. And I love this. This is about receiving. And even with Mercury that's coming into Scorpio for months, I'm like, oh man, And it reminds me of the Pisces one, because remember at the beginning of this year, Mercury went into Pisces and it went literally all the way to 29 degrees and retrograded. And that was a long Mercury Pisces. And that one was rough. That one was just like, everybody just kind of was floating through life. But at least Scorpio's not much of a floater.
Yeah.
You know?
It's more of like a sinker.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, but Pluto is magnetic.
Yeah.
Right? Like it is. And then we have Venus. There's like a lot of Venus energy right now too. There's a Venus-Pluto square. And there's kind of like, what's coming in for me is this clarity on what are you magnetizing towards you. And when something does come into your field, the empowerment to not be victimized and to be like, why is this happening to me? But instead, the whole Pluto, I like how you said the closure, but really it's like a new beginning. It's like everything this month is a gift hidden in plain sight. Like that's how I see this. I'm like, Pluto coming direct is like, it's our evolution's turned on, change is turned on, our destiny's turned on, and our free will comes into play where it's like, we're going to be given this just sudden, direct, straight shot to the next station or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's not the obstacles in the way, but the actual obstacle is the way. And so it's like, it's not happening to me, but why is this happening? Why is this happening in this moment? Why am I being redirected right now? Or like, what is the opportunity from an evolutionary standpoint, from a soul standpoint? And like receiving it that way rather than getting into these petty little power plays or like dramas. Because if you do that and then you're trying to avoid dramas and you're trying to avoid like little problems and you're trying to stay in power of something, you're going to drain your energy and you're going to have to go like this really weird route.
Yeah, it reminds me of like playing chess as a game show with a big game show host and big like, you know, who wants to be a millionaire? Like, he's moving the pawn right there. You know what I mean? Final answer, is that it? You know, you want to call a friend? Do you want to move the pawn there? It's like, oh my gosh, there's so much chess with Mercury finishing in Libra and the, you know, like Mars in Virgo, this meticulous, like, am I doing the right thing? And am I sure? And the strain, I've been saying there's a lot of strain that we don't necessarily need to allow. Like, I like how you bring up this just shot in, like kind of release and kind of go in, you know, like let this really burrow in. Cause I think Mercury in Scorpio is going to be good to actually reveal so much. Not only is Pluto coming direct, but now Mercury's going to come into Scorpio for months where there is just going to be, oh, here's this in the environment. I love the gifts because Scorpio is receiving. Taurus is, I'm going to go build. So it's like we are going to receive quite a lot. And we did so much work this whole decade with Scorpio. It's almost like we're about to get paid off for all the work we did.
Yeah. If you're willing to see the truth. You're willing to see the truth without fighting it. So if you start fighting the ending of things, you start fighting the evolution of things, which the evolution of something is when you're faced with something that's like familiar or like you've been here before, you've had somebody react to you this way, but your consciousness has evolved. So are you going to respond the same way or are you going to do something different? Like, are you going to actually advance your own evolution?
Right.
And the whole, God, I think I lost it, but there's something else that'll come back to me, I'm sure.
Well, I think that's part of it is if something is lost right now, it will come back the way it's supposed to, or it won't come back at all, and that's okay. Yeah. I think that's part of where the compassion is going to be the highest lesson of this whole, I would say, not only the 3 months into Capricorn journey with Saturn Pluto and the eclipses, but beyond with the North Node in Cancer and with this Neptune energy now off Jupiter. I feel like it's like we can kind of for a moment just start to go, where do we just build the foundation of the we're going to need to have that emotional connection and be okay and like be a little bit easier on ourselves, because I think that Libra square to Capricorn, there's a lot of good give and take because they like each other. Saturn loves to be in Libra, right? So Saturn kind of gives Libra a little bit more of a hall pass than anywhere else because that's Saturn's home of where he gets on this judgment stand and he gets a gavel and he gets, you know, so it's
a social like expression of
it's like
justice.
Where because he doesn't like to really go socialize unless he's got some purpose behind it,
right?
Like Saturn's not going to just go to a party just to go to a party unless,
or if there's people on his level,
or people on his level. That's a good one.
That's a big thing right now. And I'm like, Yeah. The whole like lose it and then let it go thing. Yes. That is so true too. I think right now with the energy of October, you're like, be easy on ourselves. I'm like, also like be easy on life and on your perception of things. And like, it's Halloween. So like, you know, when you go, I just got the image of all these like kids running around in these costumes, and it's like, they have these masks on, and it's meant to be scary. Like you go to a haunted house, it's like to be scared, but actually usually you laugh.
Right.
You know, and I kind of feel like that's going to be really important medicine right now, because it's going to be so ridiculous the way that things are going to turn on, or the truth is going to pop up here, or all of a sudden you're going to be rerouted here, or this opportunity is going to completely fall away, but then you're like, this is revealed instead. It's going to be kind of like, I feel like the shock and the awe and the oh and the ah, and it's like, go with it. Like as much as you can go with it and laugh and be rerouted. Like today, literally today, I was like, I had these plans to do these things and get these things done. And like universe had other plans. And I was like, all the stories were coming in, you're not being productive, you're not getting your shit done. But the truth is, every time I sat down to do it, like something came in that was out of my control.
And you were actually probably getting things done.
Right, but it's not in my own perception of like, this is my to-do list and this is what I need to get done. It's like being open to being guided right now feels really empowering in that Pluto way.
Totally. I was going to say, I love the Halloween analogy, because I remember as a kid, you know, if you have a plan to go out with your friends, it's like, yeah, I used to rollerblade so we can hit as many houses as we could. But I always remember you'd lose a friend, and there's always the one mom who wants to go with, but she can't keep up, and we all ditch her, and she's like trying to say, no, don't go down those streets. And it's like, if you're in that like controlling mode of trying to wrangle like 40 kids on rollerblades that are trying to go get as much candy as they want, like, good luck, lady or man or whoever. Right. Because like some people are going to just fall to the wayside, and you know, what happened to Jimmy? Like, I don't know. It's kind of like, Jimmy's probably okay. You're just going to have to kind of trust the universe. Like, Jimmy's okay. And, you know, I think that, you know, if I watched, you know, families today and Halloween, it's very like, the parents are more scared of something happening to the kid than the whole fear of Halloween now.
Mm-hmm. That's so like symbolic to
yeah, it is.
Fucking life.
That's what's the weirdest part.
Oh, don't do that. You might get hurt, or don't take a risk on that. It's like, man, what a risk to like.
I remember moms used to make brownies, and they were bomb, and I'd be like, oh, I scored. Not only did I get the king size this, but I got like 5 brownies. You know, now it's like, don't eat that. They probably put something in there, and they put rat poison in it, and they'll kill you. And oh my gosh, like. Yeah,
we're like over protecting ourselves, and also I think we're over planning. Like that's what's coming to me too, is the whole, we're missing the bigger picture. And this is where I think Jupiter's medicine is going to be really important, because there's these exact sextiles and trines in the midst of this really intense plutonic square and this energy this month. And it's like, can we zoom out? Can we get a bigger perspective and not get so caught up in the like one thing that didn't go according to plan? And even coming back full circle to your chess game reference, it's like someone makes a move you didn't expect. Do you just suddenly like react to that move, or do you pause? Do you take a step back? Because you have a game plan when you're, I don't play chess, but I know that you have to, you know, the end game, like, you know, the end. The whole thing is like, yes, you make an adjustment, but you don't just like act out and show him, oh, you think you can take this? Watch me take that. It's like you play smart. So you let him take it, because you know in the long game, it doesn't matter. You have to like play it cool. And I think right now we have to like play cool. And like laugh at yourself or your ego if there's like something didn't go according to my way. Like there's a lot of potential tantrum energy, because Pluto rules the child ego, right?
Well, and Mars at the 29th degree of Virgo, it's becomes really stressed, waiting for Pluto to come on. Like, come on. Ready for the change now. And then Mercury at the last degree of Libra, like, and I don't know, and I know, but I know. And you know, I just did the daily report, and I'm just like, come on, like, why don't we turn this around and just enjoy? This is a submarine we're going into. Yeah, and like, how willing are we to lose our energy or drain our energy in something we can't control? Like, really just ask yourself, like, can I control the completion of this in this moment? Is it in my control? And if it's not, chill out. And like, maybe it doesn't need, and like trusting in that perspective that maybe
it doesn't need to happen exactly the way that I had planned. But the bigger plan is for me to have my inner peace, or like I'm moving forward. So continue with that bigger goal, that like farther picture in mind to like reinforce you in this moment, because it feels testy. Like it feels so testy right now, and it feels so tantrumy and just like nitpicky. That's like Mars at the 29th degree of Virgo is like nitpicky, because Mars got all the way through Virgo, did all the work, and now it's like, don't fuck up my work. Like I did all this perfect, it's got to be just right. Like don't mess it up.
It's like sewing a quilt, and like on the last, like, you know, like, and it's got to be really tight, and it's going to be really tight, and it's like, bite it off. No, I don't have two hands. Like, bite it off. No, it's going to mess up, and it's going to frail everywhere. You know, it's like, oh my God, you're not the quilt.
Yeah. You would drive, like, okay, so we can drive ourselves crazy, or we can like chill out, take a step back, and be like, oh, the universe is going to finish that quilt I've been working on for the last, 29 degrees of Mars and Virgo. The universe wants to finish it for me, but I've been doing the whole, like, are you gonna be like, but I've been doing the whole thing, it's mine, it's my quilt? Or are you gonna be like, thank you for finishing this for me, and I'm gonna take a step back and like let it happen?
Well, relationships are going to be a big part of this, just because we're in Libra. Venus is at the last degrees, the last decan especially, and come over all the Saturn Pluto spots of 82 and 83, while Pluto and Saturn are direct headed towards their conjunction. And I feel that what I was speaking about tonight is like, this is going to be a test on how you handle, there's going to be so many different routes people take that there's almost like a who knows with everything. So it's like, especially like this can trigger people of being like, God, I wanted this to work with this person, or I met this person, I thought that was going good for that business deal and it didn't work, or this love relationship, I thought it was going good but it didn't, or they're just out of my life, or this. And it's like, this is where you have to like come with ultimate compassion, and the highest it's going to be a big test for people, because I think that the Capricorn square is coming. I love that you brought up the Jupiter stuff. You're going to need to see this big picture and see that everything's supposed to go to plan, and there's a positive door for you in this, because it's almost like people can get constricted and not see that doorway, with Mars going to oppose Chiron for a while, because Mars is slow, and it's going to oppose Chiron, and this is now going to bring up some fun ego stuff with the Sun squaring Saturn and Mars opposing Chiron and Mercury opposing Uranus out of nowhere, the environment changing and things turning, like you said, it's like, I'm moving to here on the chessboard, and oh man, like what? And I think that you're right. And I told everybody that Chiron in Aries was the 70s, coming in the 70s. And I'm like, no wonder they started to say, just chill, bro. Like that comes from the 70s, like relax. Because I think that this is, when Chiron comes in Aries, I think everybody realizes the more they fight for something and try so hard for something, it just doesn't
if it's not meant to be, we're just prolonging death.
Yeah.
Like we're not extending life of situations, and that's symbolic to, like, we see that with everything about how we don't want to admit that winter comes, and we don't want to admit that there's a time to go inward and there's a time to rest. Like we try to just work all the time and stay awake all the time and do, it's like all day, all the time. And the truth is, like, there's a death part of the cycle. Like that's part of the life cycle is death. Right. And it's in service of something, and there's a greater and a deeper initiation into our lives. Like I've been journaling about death. Like what is the gift of death? Like how can we really lean into that and receive it, because there's so much that can come from that. And like the whole, what's so funny, you brought up the 70s, and so I have to bring up that I watched Woodstock on Netflix. Have you seen that documentary?
This week I turned it on.
Yeah, I was like drawn to watch it last weekend.
And the whole opening scene is a storm.
Yes, and did you look up the charts after you watched it?
No, actually, you already took it a little farther. But in my head, I think it was August 16th of 1969.
Yeah. So Chiron was in Aries.
Right.
And Pluto was at the end of Virgo with the node. So it was like trine, the exact setup to Pluto and the node in Capricorn now. And the whole thing was like they basically had this crazy weather. Like they had the shittiest.
Man, it was bad.
It was bad, but there were no fights, there was no violence, and it was just
400,000 people in that one issue.
Yeah, they ran out of food, and like the town brought in all the food from their pantries, like they were flying it in. People were just like emptying out their houses. I mean, can you imagine today's world if all of a sudden we tried to put on an event that was just for
Firefest?
A Firefest.
They had millions of dollars, that guy. Remember the whole Firefest thing 2 years ago on the island?
No.
It's like, you haven't seen that documentary yet?
No.
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't like watch documentaries all the time, but I was just drawn to watch that. But I'm like, this is the collective moment, right? Where like, if you say you're conscious, if you've been doing the work, if you're like watching the show, it's like, this would be the moment to show up for that. This would be the moment that when the weather doesn't go the way you wanted to and food runs out and you've got extra food, to show up for the collective, for humanity, not just for like the ego self that's like, I'm going to save that because I was planning on going on this hike at this new beautiful mountain range that I was going to do later this week. So I have to save that just in case I need that for a snack when I'm like halfway.
Right.
It's like, dear God, like help the person in front of you right now and know that like you will be granted food when you need it. Like, yeah, I think participating together and working with the conditions of like nature, that's Pluto's domain, right? It's like nature's law.
Well, I used to watch the Walking Dead show. It's a zombie show. And in any zombie movie or show, everybody does that, right? Like, you're not in. Like, you're out. Like, I don't want to open the door and you might become a zombie or whatever, right? But you notice in that whole show, as years go on of the zombie apocalypse, that it's like, no, we actually need people to farm and to do the, you know what I mean?
Oh,
After that, you go through the initial fear of months and months and being a weird hermit by yourself with all this shit and nobody around and nothing.
Yes, because you never know. You never know when the tables are going to be turned, and you never know. There's another thing where, like, I feel like when the people that we judge the most, the people that were like triggered by the most, and we're like, they're so different from me. It's like, that was you in one life. Like, we've all incarnated so many times. Like, we've been the antagonist of every story. Yeah. You know? And so it's like the things that you reject the most or that you resist the most, that's on a soul level, like what you came here to figure out how to forgive and how to accept and how to like love and see. And I think that there's just a calling forward. Like, I feel like right now this is what it was. It was the manipulation of unconsciousness. Right. So people who are unconscious are actually manipulating conscious people by like triggering them into unconsciousness, and then the people who are conscious are going into unconsciousness and responding at the level of the person that triggered them. And there's no, what's the fucking point of being conscious then? What's right?
Well, I think a lot of that is because it's the control at the end of the day. The manipulation's based off control of wanting something to come in the way you want it to come in, or have somebody do what you want them to do. And this is a time where I think, especially with all this Capricorn, it's like the ultimate of the integrity to, with the Libra, find a beautiful solution to get things done, right? Because we can get all of it done. It just means like we don't have to be this hard-edged energy. The Libra is saying we can't do it hard-edged. We can't do it all Aries because Chiron's there. It's kind of a joke over there in Aries at the moment, right? And Mars, by the way, next year comes in for a long time to Aries because it's going to retrograde there. So we're going to be dealing with a lot of the Mars and the Aries squares to Capricorn next year. So this is a time where we can really build. It's not as stressful, I think, as we think it really is. Yeah. And that you don't need to manipulate people, or you don't need to put people down. I think this is about accepting people wherever they're at and knowing we all, tonight I was all preaching about we all are going, just to get through the wake up of the morning is something to be proud of. And it's something to be proud of to make it through a day and be positive, because the energy's heavy and we're going through a major change. And it's not a negative thing, because some people could think of that as like, you're just looking at it so negative. It's like, no, this is a major transformation and we are making it through each day, and we're divinely guided and we're divinely okay. And the more pressure that we're going to get from what feels like family or what feels like our tribe or anything is not going to be fun. You know, we're going to all have to accept that we're all going through crazy stuff. We all are going through weird thoughts. We're all going through weird stuff. And I think that this Scorpio Mercury is going to reveal a lot. And this Pluto direct is going to reveal a lot of that, of where people really are at. And it's like, I mean, we can kind of sense, but I think we're going to really see. And we're going to have to learn to accept. Or if you choose not to, I mean, that's your choice. But it's like you don't have to create a demonstrous or a judgmental or a...
Well,
like,
then,
you're not on your path, I am, like, kind of thing,
yeah.
you know?
Well, that's just spiritualizing the fear and the manipulation and the ego and the separation. Like, that's just actually producing the exact same thing that you are, like, claiming to wake up to. And that's where I feel like the Jupiter and Saturn and Pluto, like, everything's actually on our side. It's just a matter of getting clear before you enter any arena. Like, you can't go into any arena and not know what you're fighting for before you go in. If you don't have a clear intention when you're entering into any dynamic or any situation, like, you can easily forget what you're there to give and what you're there to serve. And if it becomes a personal, like, vendetta in anything, like, you'll lose. And I just feel like, this is the time where, like, we either all rise together or it becomes this just, like, battlefield of egos and willpowers and, like, power struggles. And it doesn't have to be like that. It's actually a really beautiful moment, a potential to be like, okay, we're not going to pity anybody.
Right.
We're not going to deny the truth. Like, that's something that's really clear right now too, is like, we're not going to go back. We're not going to deny the truth, but we're going to be informed by it. And we're going to respond differently. Like, there's something about acceptance, about accepting people where they are, but not using that as a way to justify toxic behavior or things that are harmful, and not using it, like, not ignoring it because you're like, I accept it. Like, even with ourselves, right? It's like, I accept that I do this thing. There's, like, this thing that triggers me, or there's this way that I act in the situation that I wish I didn't. I accept it about myself. Like, that's something I do. Like, how would I want to evolve that? Not, I don't know, just...
Well, and I think that it's going to take some time with the sun squaring Saturn. It's like, we want that, and we're going to see it. I think you're right. It's like, we all want the change. Pluto's wanting for change. We all see it with Mercury. We're almost determined more than ever to figure it out. Because Libra is determined to kind of weigh it out. And it's a cardinal sign, so it, like, I'm really trying, and then it kind of, cardinal signs get it going, and then, like, Scorpio picks it up and goes, okay, I got it now. I got the ball. It's kind of the quarterback. Every time it's a cardinal sign, it's a quarterback, but the receiver is definitely a fixed sign that's holding the ball all the way through and barreling through, And then finally, when it kind of lets down and is ready to throw the football up in the air, is the mutable sign. Like, well, where does this go next, So it's like the ball's about to be handed off and we're about to barrel through. And I think that it's going to be a weird barrel, because with these squares, the sun square Saturn is not fun, but it's also very character defining, and it's very good for finally being clear on what must be done, but also that we're all going to have to find patience, which is not easy during a time in which we want things to just happen, like poof, when actually that the patience is what will make it happen faster in a weird way.
And it's a closing square, so it's a
right, because it's a waning square,
So
because they're going to meet again.
So I think it's actually a gift. It's like and that's what this feels like, the final challenge. It's like we've all been, like, through these initiations and tests and, like, boot camps, and it's like showing up for that final thing to show, like, I have authority. My consciousness has evolved to this level where, like, I know how to show up in the situation. And there's a friction there. There's shit that comes up. I have resistance to it, but I have the authority. I have dominion over my choices. I have dominion over how I show up to this. And whoever decides to show up in integrity and fully conscious, like, there's going to be payoff. That's the thing with Saturn too, is like, if you actually show up and you do something that's actually in service of something greater than just yourself in this moment, it might be tense, but it'll fucking pay off, especially on that day. Like, especially if you do it on that day when all the pressure is, like, coming against you and you feel like, no way can I do this. That feels like a very valuable day, You know, like all this astrology feels very valuable if we're willing to use it as an asset and not as just, like I said, not just an obstacle, not just a like, fuck, this is going to be a hard day. It's like, this day has a ton of fucking reward for me if I'm willing to prove to myself that I know how to show up. Like I know I'm ready. I'm ready to show up.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it reminds me of art, or like if you had tools, or if you had a new phone and it was a whole new operating system, and you're like, I don't know where everything is yet. And like kind of getting all frustrated and being like, but look at how much better it is. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I always hear, not to like put down older people in my family, but like, you know, like they're like, yeah, I just got this brand new thing, but I don't know how to use it yet. Like it'll be weeks or months. Be like, I'm the kind of person where it's like, oh, I just got it. Oh, I just figured it out. Bam. This is awesome. Did you see this new feature?
Yeah.
I never knew I had that. I'll even take somebody's old phone from 3 years ago and did you know you could do this? What? I never looked.
It's so funny because it's so much of our perception of like, if we tell ourselves it's going to be hard, it's going to be hard. And if we tell ourselves like, it's going to be fun and it's exciting and I'll figure it out, it goes a different route. Right. And it's actually so perfect because I was hanging something up yesterday and I was knocking for the stud, you know, and I remember I found it because it sounded different on the wall. And I remembered the first time I moved into my own place in Nebraska, and I bought these like stud finders and I downloaded these apps and I called my cousin. I was like, Josh, you gotta come over. Like, I don't know what I'm fucking doing. And like, I don't know where this stud is. I gotta hang this TV. And we're like trying to figure this out. And last night I was like, oh my God. Like, obviously it's the part of the wall that sounds different. Like, it's not, it doesn't even, I was like trying to listen for. It doesn't sound
hollow.
Well, and it's like, before I was like, what does it mean like to sound hollow? Like, what is that? It's like, you don't even have to know that. You just have to know that the part that sounds different from majority of these spaces.
It feels like there's meat there, like bam. Oh,
but it's just like, that's what's happening right now is it's like, just feel it out. Like, and you'll feel where it just feels so much simpler like than we make it to be.
Totally.
And maybe it's because my consciousness has evolved now to this place where stud finding is
not necessary anymore.
But that's like, I think that's true for a lot of things, is we're like, we don't need training wheels like we needed them. And and it was reminding me too, where it's like, for like, I was thinking about, I keep getting images, I don't know about you, but I keep getting images of like troops and like war images and like I kept getting images of like boot camps, and I was like, okay, it's not like when somebody decides they want to go fight war, like they're like signing up for the war, they don't just like go give them a gun and put them somewhere. You go through like all these extensive trainings and tests and like time, and you go through these boot camps and you get all of this, like a lot of stuff happens before you actually go do something.
I know.
And we lived
through it.
Yeah, and I'm like, but that's also true for developing and reprogramming our minds.
Well, do you know what the first thing they do in boot camp is?
Isn't it like shave your head or something?
Of course. And then they kind of demoralize you at the first day. But really the first week is just health, blood, work. And they put you in situations of frustration. They make you wear clothes that not the other base people are wearing. So you're like in sweats, not like uniforms. So then everybody can be like rookies.
Because they're weeding you out.
Yeah,
they're weeding people out.
Right. And then they put you through really stressful, like, they test you with your health. Like, oh, okay, we're going to pull your wisdom teeth, but we're not putting you under. What?
Okay, that's just like...
And they do that. They just numb you up, and then they put up a blindfold, and then they pop them out, and then they vaccinate the crap out of you.
So I think the universe is a lot friendlier than our military.
Yeah, 100%.
But I do think that there is something right now that's like, it is kind of like weeding people out in terms of, like, we are being called forward. And I think there are so many people who are ready, and I encourage people to just show up, like, with the prep they've been having.
That's all you had to do in boot camp, was just not be afraid and just be like, it looked scarier than it was. And then actually I remember my second week, I was lucky though, because I was the leader of my boot camp, but my second week was like, I actually really like being here. I like really dug boot camp. And then at the end, I almost didn't want it to end. That might sound crazy, but it was so uniformed. It was so together. It was so in motion. Everybody was supportive of each other. Everybody had each other's backs. Everybody was wanting to push each other. And it was just about helping each other out. And so there was something really positive about that. But when I think you're getting these images of troops and stuff, I've been getting the images of like, they're not even going to be wearing uniforms. And I think that it's, a lot of it comes to the media and it comes to the stories, that there's these armies being built of consciousness, whether that's negative or positive, to be projecting energy towards situations of people in power where they want to use human consciousness to be projected into their direction the way they want it to be. And it's like not jumping on the bandwagon of that and giving away your sovereign energy to these places that you're not even part of. They're not even in your reality. They're not even part of your life. Like a lot of people are attaching themselves to these belief systems, ideologies, things that they've never experienced, been in, heard of, talked to, or anything. And that's like the army. It's like this very like, you know,
like a almost like savior syndrome type of.
It's funny, I said that tonight. I said that we're not the saviors as light workers. We're the ones holding just the light and the love.
Yeah.
But
that is what I'm seeing, is like the fleets that I'm seeing are the light holders, are like the people like actually.
Oh, so we're seeing both sides of the war.
Yeah. Ooh, that's really interesting. That's really fascinating.
I'm seeing the other side and you're seeing the.
Yeah. But I think like, let's like distinguish, what side are you on? Like who are you fighting for? Are you fighting for collective unity and healing and love and freedom, like, and truth? Like, what are you? So get clear on that before you do anything. I think
part of it too is like with the light work is just holding space of love. Like it's not as dramatic of a role as like light workers might think it might be. Because I think
it's not as dramatic, but I do think it's very serious.
Yes,
I think it's very
100%.
serious. And I think that's what's right now. I'm like, you need to take yourself seriously in terms of your role in every dynamic, in every relationship.
Yes.
Like stop expecting people to show up in a certain way and letting that prevent you from showing up in the way that you know you're capable of, especially with all this Libra energy. It's like there's a call here. It's like, who's directing this? Who's driving this energy? And this is where the Scorpio stuff becomes really potent. If you use that Scorpio, like Scorpios are so like ninja-like they're always up to something. They're always plotting something. My coworker, when I worked in the pharmacy, I was always like, what are you like, we're on the same team. Like I would like call her out. I'm like, so what Scorpio thing is happening right now? Like tell me. And there's a game plan. Like there's always a game plan, and there's always like a reason for showing up in the way that you do. And it's not just like reacting.
Dracula's always got a plan.
Yeah. So have a plan. Have a bigger game plan about like what your intention is. Let go of outcomes, let go of this whole like manifesting your soulmate relationship and needing things to work out in this way. Like this shit's gonna come together if it's meant to come together. Like enjoy your life in this moment. Enjoy your life. Show up.
The glue will stick or it will not. Like pretty simple. Like I got this image about this whole
the glue will stick.
I can't get off the armies thing. Because I've been seeing where people can lose sight since I was in the military, and I don't know, I'm fascinated by a lot of history, especially not afraid to say military history. But like in World War II, there were kamikaze pilots that the Japanese had, and they had this ideology and belief that unless they committed suicide to, they would just fly the plane into a boat, right? Like into one of our carriers, because they ran out of ammo. They were running out of supplies. So the only thing that they would do, even on the ground, the Japanese would just run in with as much as they can with grenades attached to them and just the guns full out and just get as many people as you can and die, right? All for the emperor, all just for this integrity of Japan, and the integrity of your non-integrity, and then you would have to kill yourself if you were like basically a little bitch, right? Like if you didn't show up or if you didn't go win the war, like the commanding officer would literally commit suicide, like with a sword, like chick, or they would get their head chopped off. So like, don't go down that road. Like, that's what I'm saying is, like, there is no belief or ideology out there
Yeah.
that you have to go that extreme.
There's no self-sacrificing.
Like, sure, light work has some sort of self-sacrifice, but it's definitely not.
No, it has.
It's the opposite
ego.
of that.
It has ego sacrifice. It does not have self-sacrifice.
Yes.
And there is a difference between sovereignty and self-importance. There is a difference, and that's where it's like, if you have a clear intention on your code of ethics and morality, that is your guiding principle right now. And if you're actually embodying your light, embodying your joy, and focused on your own authentic, like, joyful living, just by being in a room, you are doing light work.
Yes.
Like, it's not even, we think it's like, I gotta go do this thing to make sure I'm doing my light work. No, you gotta be genuine. You have to be genuine. You have to be honest. You have to be
real,
kind. You have to be real. You have to be forgiving, but you can't be naive. You can't be like, you can't play dumb. You can't like play around in toxic things and say, but I'm the light worker.
You have to be intelligent too.
That's what I mean, like discerning. Like there's like a discernment.
Because people will have issues, but it's like, you can see that there's more benefits than negatives. So it's like, I'm willing to work through that issue with you because nobody's perfect.
Well, yeah.
Whereas I feel like,
but is that person like, there's a difference? Like, let's say we're working something out, but you're like, hey, I'm like working on this. And I'm like, cool, like I'm totally here. But if you're like in complete denial that you've got any kind of issue and you're not doing your work, like that's where I'm like,
that's clear. Yeah.
And as light workers, I think that there's this misconception where it's like, oh, because I can see the potential in somebody, because I can see that like, if they do this work, or maybe it's if using everything as an opportunity to do work on ourselves, like that's toxic and actually draining your energy where you could be giving it where it is helpful.
And usually the light isn't even on in that situation, and you're just trying to feed the light to come on. I've always noticed it's like, if the light's on, but there's some moments when it flickers for a second, and it's like, let's find out what that flicker is. I'll accept that. And let's keep working on that to stop flickering so much. But the light's on and it's doing its work and it's all there. And that's pretty much it. We're down to like 1 or 2 issues out of the 100 awesome ones. Then
we all have our shit.
Right?
We all have we all have flickers. We all have
This is going to be where judgment can be detrimental or overly castrated for, it's like, did you look around at everything, Jupiter, like, and see like it's just one issue or something?
Well, and are we like wanting people to change for our own agendas? Like, that's where I think the judgment thing in relationship, where it's like, oh, I'm doing someone this service because I'm a light worker and I see what's best for them, and it's that's ego. Like, that's self-importance. Again, that's actually not helpful or kind or compassionate. So there's like this not needing people to change in any way or be a certain way, not judging them for where they are, and also not using any of it as like a way to victimize yourself, as like, oh, I'm stuck here, I'm powerless, there's nothing I can do. Like, there's always, we have free will, we always have a choice. And that's going to be, I think, the medicine this month is like, choose wisely, consciously.
You know, this has come up for me a lot today as I'm looking in the chat room. A lot of people are talking about vaccinations. I talked about it earlier, and then I think just because I talked about how I got vaccinated in the military, which is a requirement, a lot of people were talking about their vaccination injuries and stuff. And I feel that, you know, there's deep correlations right now with this foreign energy that comes into our bodies, or foreign energy that comes into countries that's going on, or foreign energy that's coming into this earth that's going on.
Consciousness.
Right? There's a connection to it all. That doesn't feel right, or it doesn't feel like connected. But I've also been hearing a lot of stories from people recently who are sick or have issues, and they're like, well, I don't go to the doctor. Right? And then it's like, well, when are you going to go to the doctor?
Well, yeah,
like,
there's
you know
such
what I mean?
a balance.
Right? So it's like, there's some things in life that I think that we have to learn that there's a place for everything, and for certain people there's a place, and for certain people there's not. But I think when we start just blanketing things, like, these are all bad.
Right. That's, well, and again, it's like, why do I need everybody to agree with me in order to feel justified for my position or my opinion. Like real true power is not loud. Real true power is not like acted out. It's not enforced. It just is. Like if you're in your power and you know your truth and you own it, that's it. That's it. No one has to hear it from you. You don't have to like, I mean, nobody fucks with the lion because you know not to fuck with the lion, right? Not because it's like, it gets all in your face. It's like, no, I'm going to make sure I don't get in that lion's face. Like,
and I think it's okay right now for people to be like, okay, this foreign energy, if it doesn't feel good, let me put that in a lobby for a second and check on it like a hotel does. That's why they have lobbies, right? Like they have a choice of whether or not they want to take you in for the room or, you know, like throw it in the lobby for a second and go, let me analyze this deeper. So when I went to Trump Tower when we were in New York last year, because I just wanted to go see it because it was such a hot place to go. Everybody, there's military everywhere. Speaking of that, and FBI and Secret Service. And so I went in there. And they really don't check you. And I asked one of the security guards, like, hey, well, not security, sorry, one of the Secret Service guys. I'm like, I'm ex-military. I just wanted to know something. He's like, oh, okay, what's up? I'm like, you didn't check me or whatever. He goes, oh, go look up. And there was like 25 cameras. And they are scanning everybody and looking at your face, going through your Facebook, your Instagram and everything, and looking for negative aspects of Trump or Hillary or anything that is done. It's just scanning your whole entire life in social media within a millisecond and being like, yeah, that person's good. That's how crazy Mercury and Scorpio is. It's like, let me analyze this. Let me really get to the bottom. Let me look at you. Oh, well, you did make that post. You know, like if somebody gets big today in politics or anything, and then out of nowhere they'll be like, in 2013 on June 11th, they tweeted this, and then they'll bring it up now. You know what I mean? Somebody is spending hours digging into somebody's social media to find any dirt on them. That's the dark side of Mercury and Scorpio.
Yeah, I feel like,
you know
God, that
mean?
makes me feel just like gross.
I
Like
know.
that feels gross.
I know.
I don't like the way that feels at all in my body at all.
And that's why
And it's like, well, if you know who you are, like if you trust you can trust yourself and you can trust the universe and you can just check in with yourself. Like, what is the like purpose for this person in my life? Is it to help me evolve something and learn something about myself and to grow in that way? Or is it to, you know, become closer to this person? And we can trust like what feels off without having to do all that research. And just like, that's like the whole, God, was it the Halloween thing that you talked about where it's like over preparing or like making sure everyone's
trying to make a plan, like
making sure you think of everything and everyone's okay and you're doing, it's like, just like live life. And like maybe you get sick and maybe you get hurt, but like it's okay. We're like not fragile. Like we're not, it's okay. It's okay to learn. It's okay to grow. And you can trust yourself. Like you'll figure it out. You'll learn a lesson.
But Mercury will get to boundaries and be like, this is the boundary line.
Oh, also, it's not about even just like going deep. It's also about truth surfacing.
Right, exactly.
It's about like, oh shit, all of a sudden I can see through. I don't even have to go back and dig in deep. It's just like a psychic perception where you're like, oh, this person's like saying this, but I can feel what you're actually saying and I can see the like connection to, oh, like where you're revealing what actually is true. So like listening for truth. And I saw this twice on Instagram from two different things today. And I was only on Instagram like twice. It's so funny. Universe really wanted me to say it. It was, the truth will set you free, but first it might piss you off. Like, I think that's kind of something to be aware of too.
That's very Mercury Scorpio.
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
It's like, here's the electric fence. I wasn't ready for it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, I want to keep going. Or no.
Yeah.
But actually,
it's good to know.
there's a cliff on the other side of this thing.
Yeah.
Or there's a dinosaur on the other side of this thing who's going to eat you. And I think that, I mean, I love Scorpio because I do have my malefics. I do have Mars and Saturn there. So I had to learn the hardest lessons of Saturn return in Scorpio boundaries. And that's the ultimate part of Scorpio's boundaries, right? There's boundaries to this reality. There's boundaries of what we can do, whether we'll die or not. That's the whole, it's the boundary between life and death. That's boundaries, right? There's there's a line. There's a line always. Even there's boundary between countries. There's boundaries between where the water meets the land. There's a boundary between, you know, everything in life, right? That's the sharp edges of life are Scorpio, right? They are the boundaries that define like what is and what is not.
I feel like Scorpio is like the boundary of choice. It's more like the boundary of decision, of making the choice and using the free will to like advance. Like, are you going to be stuck because of fear? Like, I feel like Scorpios are just constantly thrust into positions where they have to change. They have to like choose. Am I going to change? Am I going to choose something different? But it's a choice. It's always a personal choice. And it's like keeping themselves stuck in this rut. And then it's just like this, like, yeah, digging deeper into this like trench. Or it's that exhilaration of really like thrusting forward and having the
rising
change.
out. Yeah.
Walking through the fire.
But this is where, yeah, boundaries are going to be understood between conversations and people and environment, like the environment you're in, like how far can you take this energy of this space?
How far can you go? That feels more like it than like
Scorpio.
boundaries. I was
How
like,
far?
I'm just seeing Capricorn and Saturn, but I'm like the whole, how far will you go?
is the
drawing the line.
Scorpio is the real last boundary line because it is the one that says you will die if you go this far.
Yeah.
You will die. Like that's the or ultimate.
Like there is a death, there is a loss. And so that's part of the lesson though, is learning to accept loss and to be totally okay with that and actually accept and receive loss. And like, because otherwise it's like an emotional hoarding. It's like literally collecting all of these, like, no, I'm going to hold on to all of these experiences and things in my life and these people, like whatever, you know, hoarding is a shared thing with Taurus and Scorpio, but it's a different,
it's different. It's
game.
Emotional in Scorpio and it's
like
physical
nostalgia and like, so it's like you have to be willing to let the old pain go. Like, let the old fucking story go. Let the old thing go. Let the old relationship, let it all go.
And that's where all the work was from 20 to ironically this week coming up, October 6, 2012 was Saturn entering Scorpio. And then it finished, of course, in August of 2015, which was at that 28 degree, or that was when the Jupiter-Saturn square, and then we went into September and then went into Sag. But we are finishing then in 2016 was Mars retrograde in Scorpio. 2017 was Jupiter entering into Scorpio. 2018 was Jupiter finishing in Scorpio and Venus retrograde in Scorpio.
And Mercury. And
now this is full-blown Mercury. This is the last, and it's always the tiniest. Mercury always seems bigger than it really ever is, right? We always make the biggest problems, Mercury retrograde problems, when it's really the tiniest planet and it's so small.
Because that's what it's revealing to us, is our consciousness and our programming that gets in the way of us actually being able to perceive life in a way that is at the level of our expanded consciousness. It's like we're still there's still an old operating system, and we have to kind of like go out back and unwire it and like unravel it, so then that way we can actually live in the way that we've developed and programmed.
I agree with you, and I think that this is an amazing time to start to get clear more than ever. Like this is the clarity we've been waiting for, because it has not been a very clear year. Right? Like it's like
every time we thought we were clear, every time I thought I was clear this year, I was just like, motherfucker.
Right? So I think that Mercury in Scorpio is about bringing clarity. I think Pluto direct in Capricorn with Saturn, even though it can be tough, it is like ultimate clarity. Like this is it. And then on top of that, when you see this Sun square Saturn, like, it's going to be like, this is what must be done. And that's this week, but at least there's also this other part of Mars in Libra that you know, it's like, let's go about this without destroying everything, but at the same time being diplomatic and being like, there's no deal here, but let's shake hands. There's a deal here. Let's figure this out. Let's not cause a crazy, over dramatic situation.
Like a conflict,
Yeah.
the unnecessary conflict.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about how, like, October, there's just so much Mars and Pluto energy.
know.
And it's beautiful, though, because Mars is in Libra, Venus is going to be in Scorpio, so there's this mutual reciprocity. And it's in Scorpio. It's not in Aries, it's in Scorpio. So it's that kind of like transpersonal level of Mars. And so it's really this opportunity for us to like get into the deeper values, like Venus and Scorpio, like getting connected to that anchor of your value, the like I am not it's unwavering, you know, and it's got that like power that's also supported by Mars in Libra. It is more political. It is more like advancing socially and like collaboration and bringing together, and not just like, it's not just for themselves. And you know, Mars is kind of in detriment there, because it's like, I can't just go it alone. Like you can go alone right now, but like you can't go very far. You might go fast, but like you can't go very far. And this is a long game trajectory right now. Like this is not just about a personal will to like get something you want right now.
Yeah, and I don't think that we need to be the police ourselves on other people. Like there's that case of that police today that she was found guilty, that police officer that went and she thought it was her apartment, she claims, and went and murdered the guy that lived below her in the same exact apartment, but just like the one underneath. And she claimed that she just wasn't thinking and went in there, and she claims that she told him to put his hands up and he didn't, and she shot him and killed him. But it's like us trying to be a cop in our personal lives to other people and to other situations is not going to go well right now.
It's not don't be a cop, like don't be police, like don't be God.
Yeah.
Like stop playing God in other people's lives and in your own. Like that is surrender is Pluto's medicine. Pluto's medicine is surrender, because it's always like giving back the power to nature, because nature always had the power in the first place. We like kid ourselves. We might put out a bunch of little forest fires, you know, but there's always going to be a big fire. Like nature's always going to run its course, and nature is going to run its course right now. And it's more so like, how can I co-creatively align and show up with a bigger intention in mind, with like a higher will? You know, like I think that's the potential of this moment, is like everybody wins. Like let's have some goodwill. Let's have some like,
and accepting people who it's a win-win. Like
it is a win-win.
You're going over there and on that boat, and I'm on this boat, and that's cool.
Right.
We're all going to this great.
We're on these two boats, and we're going different places. But I'm like yelling at you while you're on I'm just like, fuck you for being on that boat. Like, why? Like just like enjoy your boat ride.
Go enjoy your boat ride. I was going to say, when you brought up the nature thing, it's like, and to make a funny joke with Halloween, like trying to take a big Halloween bowl of candy and dumping the candy out and putting it over a volcano and being like, this thing will never explode. Like, yeah, right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like where it's like, we do have to kind of just go with ways that nature's going to be going, people are going to be going, the earth's going to be going, the world, the universe. Like this is the ultimate real conscious test, is true surrender and acceptance of all of it, and
finding joy in the journey. This like Jupiter and Sag, it's like
all of it.
Yeah, and it's like it's happening. You're like, Jupiter's
like, this is the best movie you guys ever wanted to watch, so
or be a part of. Yeah, like just like ride it out.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, actually it was last night, it was like, okay, so Jupiter's gonna come, or maybe it was today, Jupiter's gonna come into Capricorn and be like, well, we're gonna go experience this Saturn Pluto thing as a movie, right? With South Node on Jupiter. Like I am the exact day that Saturn Pluto conjunct on January 12th. With Mercury and the Sun is literally going to be with Jupiter on the South Node exact Capricorn. It's like, I just laugh at that, because I'm like, we are going to really experience that movie of Saturn and Pluto and this complete transformation of the most extreme of the whole entire way that our system of life works and how we control the world and our idea of the way that it should be structured and everything. And I think that a lot of it is with the North Node of Cancer being like, get a comfy seat.
And
with the Libra, get a comfy seat with somebody you want to be next to.
With somebody you want to be next to.
Yep.
Yeah, and Mercury in Scorpio, it's also like, this is going to be a good opportunity for us to really iron out those like perceptions of the darker things of like, quote unquote. Is it going to be like scary? Is it going to be, oh no, death? We got to avoid that. I have to control. So there's going to be this opportunity to like reprogram ourselves to participate with life in a way where perception is actually helping us, like to see that everything is coming together, everything's working out. And like, if I don't understand in this moment, there's a deeper understanding here for me available that I can actually access. If I'm willing to stop and look at this from a different perspective, if I'm willing to ask, like instead of being frustrated, pause, like take frustration this week, especially, and as Pluto's coming direct, take that as a cue to be like, ooh, there's something I'm misinterpreting here. There's something that I'm resisting, and there's an opportunity for me to like, okay, like what's actually happening? What else could be happening here? To like see deeper.
100. Or this is just a moment for you to just chill the fuck out and just be like, hey, it's okay. It's traffic.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and if it's,
people in traffic, especially here in LA, like,
yeah.
It's like you really, and then you're passing them and you're just in the traffic and you're like, look at that guy.
Yeah.
Like, it's this like, the harder you shake and bake.
Shake and bake. Maybe you need to actually just go.
Yeah, this is not shake and bake.
Have some shake and bake.
Like, it's literally, more just shake and bake. Well, you know what I mean from Talladega Nights. Like,
I'm just saying there's an opportunity if you're the person freaking out. If you're not like, what you're saying, I think is totally the medicine to be like, all right, just like, duh, it's all good. But if you're not there, like rather than trying to spiritually bypass the moment, you can be like, okay, like, I'm really resisting this right now. Like maybe there's something. Yeah. One of my coaches responded to a question I had, and she said, she was like, play the 20 questions game. But it was like 20 potential reasons why this could have happened. It was like a client situation that I had. She's like, list 20 possibilities. Outside of just like the one or two that my mind goes to, right? Let's like what else like possibly could explain the situation, just like to expand your mind. Right. It's like doing that with everything, and even just reading the question. I immediately just by reading the question and inviting a different frame of reference to even be possible, I saw the answer. I already saw it. Like I didn't even have to do the exercise. I was like, okay, thank you, got it.
Thank you.
We just have to be willing to like inquire into questioning why we're so pissed or frustrated or like everything's not working out. Well, what if it is? Like, how could this possibly? I think that
Pluto is an ultimate rocket to a Saturn, where Saturn is a slow stepper. So it's like we think we have to rush to this race, but really out of nowhere, a rocket pack comes when you're just taking baby steps. And takes you where you need to go. So it's like when people start to freak out, like this is too slow, or this isn't the way, or I haven't seen enough progress, and then back out, they're missing out on the gift, which is like that actually the baby steps are just enough to where when Pluto is going to be direct here and everything, and it will, especially that it takes a while to get on, just it's a gradual and it's light speed. I mean, even if you remember in like Star Wars or anything, when they go light speed, there's always that moment of I don't remember. And then it goes. You don't remember light speed?
I don't remember movies.
Interesting.
I know.
I'm such a movie buff, but when you go light speed, it's all the light goes. Or even like, have you ever seen we're about to have the air show here this weekend, when they go the speed of sound and they make a sonic boom. You can see the mushroom cloud of the sound wave whenever a plane hits over 700 miles an hour. That it's like there's something about the way that you are beating the speed of sound. Like right now, you don't have to try and beat it. You don't need to try and overstep and make this huge big boom.
Yeah.
Because one, going the speed of sound, you can't do over anything, or it'll knock all the windows out. It'll right. You have to go way off in the ocean to do it, or way off in the middle where there's no people. I just know this because I was in the airport of the Navy. So it's like, let this baby steps be ignited by this Pluto in a way that actually could take us to other levels. It's a little bit more like Mario. Like Mario just kind of goes dee 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 dee, and just goes
And then
down the
sometimes there's
plumb,
like-
and it actually can go up, like
Yeah.
you know, and it's like, oh, I'm up on the clouds now and getting all the coins.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
And like then you miss some of the level, but you got to like play it, and then you can go back and play
and then
it
being
again.
like, jump over it now, jump.
Or you can be the person who has to get every single coin. Like maybe that's how you play the levels. Like there's all these different ways to play reality.
Yeah.
There's all these different ways to play every single level. And your soul came back just to play at a new level, just to play a new game, just to play it. So like you can come back again if you
Well,
want.
with Pluto too, there's secret doors.
Yes, but I think the secret doors are like letting the secret door find you, not like searching them out. This is not a time to get in.
It's just like when you like look at a wall and you're like, this looks like it could be a secret door.
Yeah.
Okay, let me like see. Oh, it is. All right. Instead of like looking at it everywhere, because
like
whenever
walking in the room being like,
where is it? Yeah. Then you're in a clue game, and it's like, is it Miss Plum with the candlestick in the library?
Yeah, but you're missing the like actual really fun, lively conversation people are having.
Well, that's going to be, I think we're just hitting a nail deep on the head here. Mercury in Scorpio for that long is going to go play Clue for a long time. Or
I fucking love Clue.
I know, but or it's going to be quite the opposite, where it's like, all right, I went to this boundary line, and that's where I got that, and I understand that, and I'm going to keep going this way, and it's like gonna just naturally, intuitively go with off its gut too. Like, yeah, okay. Instead of sit there and go, well, my gut feels there's something here, but how long are you gonna stay detective mode?
That's where I think we can get tripped up. Where it's like, why are you playing the game? Like just like getting wrapped up, I think, in things and having a little bit too much fun with those, like over analyzing and like. That detective type of mindset.
Sometimes detective work is just because you don't want to accept the result that's shown up too.
I think that's more true than anything right now.
Right, to try and find a reason why when you already know it just showed itself.
And that's normal, by the way. That's a normal response to having, because truth is traumatic. Like consciousness can be traumatic. So it's okay to have that. Like notice, and it's kind of like even with intuition, when you have a sudden insight into something, doubt shows up. It's like,
and then it can come into obsession. I don't know why I just got something where it's like somebody throws tarot cards for a situation in life, like, I'm gonna do another set, and then I'm gonna I'm gonna do another set. It's like, how many times are you gonna throw those cards? Now you don't even remember the first set. You don't even remember the second set. Now you're on the fifth set. You're just waiting for it to be the way you want it to look. Because you're not asking
for the answer. You're looking for an answer that you've predetermined is right. Yes. But like, why are you happy with that answer? Like, what part of you has decided that is the right answer? And like, maybe it's not. Like being open to a loving force in the universe that loves you enough to like have divine intervention and like cut you off from yourself and be like, no.
Well, and since you're Miss Shadow Work, I mean, really Mercury in Scorpio is good shadow work on your thoughts and on the way that you deal with your mind and how it can, you can clear a lot of this stuff that's been tripping you up. And since Scorpio has been a big part of, it's been, I would say, the central focus of the 2010s, that there is kind of a weird part of everything that's going to happen during Mercury in Scorpio. I mean, even during Mercury in Scorpio, Jupiter comes into Capricorn, I think, because I think it's December 6th when it comes out. So Jupiter comes into Capricorn on December 2nd. Like, we're going to have a lot happen with Mercury in Scorpio. Even Mars comes into Scorpio with Mercury there. Like, it's going to be a lot. And so and shadow's going to come out of it. Jupiter's going to come out of its shadow with Mercury in Scorpio. So it's like, there's so much going to happen during this time that it's like, what a way to end the decade.
Yeah.
And we're starting it on Wednesday and tomorrow night, 24 hours from now. So that's why I'm thinking it's like, take a breath now, because this is a long
It's a
ride.
deep dive.
It's a deep, sunken deep. It's the underworld
beautiful,
too.
though, but it's beautiful, and it's like, I like how you said it is a really good opportunity to do shadow work, and how shadow work is like, you know, in the way that I do it and I practice it, it's not about like fixing ourselves. It's not about self-analyzation. It's about like self-liberation. It's like soul retrieval, right? Because suddenly you're actually just inviting inquiry into where is my mental perception and conditioning and programming limiting me from really receiving fully who I am and like expressing that and processing things.
I think that also with Mercury opposing Uranus this week in Taurus is Mercury in Scorpio and shadow work, I think, as well, is about also learning to accept the true nature of ourselves and find a really positive way to use it opposed to a negative way, right?
Well, the only reason we have shadows is
right?
because it's rejected.
And so I think Uranus and Taurus is going to be like, I'm ready to take this uncovering of a shadow that you probably already have known, because it's not like Mercury hasn't been in Scorpio before. But with Uranus and Taurus here, never at this degree, it's almost like, let's do something really good with this and new and different. Instead of looking at it like, why did this crazy thing happen to me? It's almost like, this is a moment for you to take that shadow that you would usually react to that and be like, let's take it this new way and do something with it. Let's,
like rather than judging it, or
destroying yourself. Mercury and Scorpio can be like, why did I?
That's what I mean, judging it. But like, rather, what if it's like actually being liberated, Uranus, to like integrate the liberation of the shadow work to say, you know, I'm willing to learn how to love this part of myself that is hard because I've been trained. You weren't born thinking that this part of yourself is hard to love. Like, that was trained. And so it's about doing the work to untrain yourself, because you're like, what if I'm actually not afraid to admit how I actually feel about the situation? I'm not actually afraid to express myself in this way. And when I own that, it doesn't have to come out in harmful ways or be repressed, or, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have to act out in these compulsion in these ways. It's like, that's why I love this work, because it's like the people who act out the most, the people who are the most kind of like causing the most conflict or the most saying the most harsh things, are the people who are the most afraid of shame, right? Like, they're like running, they're like fighting themselves so much. And it's just like this demon of like, I'm so afraid if I admit who I actually am or how I actually feel. And that's patriarchy, that's conditioning, that's bullshit. Like, that's all bullshit. And if we all just had the space to admit and feel safe to like really accept all of ourselves and to know it all has a place and a purpose, you know, it's just a matter of waking up to it and allowing it to be channeled in a way that isn't harmful, that isn't like against.
Well, we'll take one question and then we'll end the show here. I'm trying to see where people are at. I saw things about haunted houses. I saw it's interesting to see you know, a lot of people got into the movies.
What are you going to be for Halloween?
Well, I think I had told myself that this year I was going to be, I can't remember. It was either going to be Maverick from Top Gun. You know what?
You're like already kind of rocking that.
No,
what would be?
I mean, I've done Elvis. I've done, not really. The day that Halloween hits for me is the sun conjuncting my Saturn. My Saturn's 9 Scorpio. And Halloween always falls on 9 or 10 Scorpio. So for me, Halloween is always my Sun Saturn day. And I'm always just like, I'd rather do something where I'm not putting on a costume. I'm so Saturn Scorpio, I'm like, that's fake to me, right? Like, it's like a lot of people use it to be like, I'm finally going to let out my sexiness I'm afraid to show, or I'm finally going to let out the badass that I know I am, but I'm afraid to show. Or me, I'm kind of like, I really show myself all the time. I don't want to be fake and show something I'm actually not. So it's a very weird time for me, and I never feel good on Sun Saturn in Scorpio days. It's a very poisonous Saturn. It poison teaches us a lot, though, you know, and there's something about it that Halloween just is never a fun party for me. It's always, I was Dirk Diggler one year. I guess that was the porn star I never became.
What's the vampire? Are you like into some vampire?
Oh yeah, I mean I could be Deacon Frost too, but a lot of people that, you know what, so with millennials saying stuff, they would have no idea.
Yeah.
It's like Blade was 1997.
You could be an animal.
Oh God.
You could be.
I don't know. I think, you know what, there's years like, well, I think it was hard for me because I think when I had my Saturn return, it was like pretty much on the first go of Saturn and Scorpio. So when the Sun and Saturn met in Scorpio, that was like on October the 25th or something. It was, I think, 2 degrees. And that squared my Sun. It was not fun. Like I also knew my Saturn return was coming. So that was a trigger. Halloween's been a trigger for me.
Maybe this is your new year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that maybe this will change things. Although, yeah.
I think they will. Like, that's what I think this time is like. Our stories are being rewritten.
Yeah, and it was a weird Halloween. But I just feel that I don't really know. It's very hard for me to be something that I've been everything I've wanted to be this life. I mean, there's still a lot more, but
we could get a bunch of people and dress up as all the Clue characters.
I was telling Craig that we should do a Halloween party at High Vibe with the DJ gear and everything, and have a little spiritual like Halloween party.
Yeah. With the fog.
Yeah, with the fog, and have gifts and have people talk and do like a positive affirmation,
that like foggy drink thing, you know, the like green.
And like do a little witch stuff for fun. Get a Ouija board.
We do witch stuff all the time, so that would be
like, I'm down. See, for me, for something like that feels fun, but I don't feel comfortable going to parties where it's just people just sitting around in costumes and just drinking a keg of beer. Like I'm just kind of like, what's the point in wearing the costumes?
I haven't done that since college. I mean, I liked it in college, but yeah.
Or when I DJ, it's like it's like uncomfortable wearing an outfit and like with the headphones and sweating and you know, it's like, so Halloween to me, I'm always kind of, I'm very Saturnian on that, like, I need to have a purpose here to Halloween. Like if I built a haunted mansion or a haunted house, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I got purpose. I'm doing something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe throw a party, throw a gig.
I guess that's what I gotta do. What about you?
I don't know. I have no idea. I was just thinking. Well,
it's October, so you better figure it out.
I know. I have a shark costume.
Oh, that's my animal totem.
Really?
The great white.
Yeah, I have like a fin and I can bring it sometime. You can borrow it.
It's okay. I've got my animal totem following me everywhere.
Yeah, this is such a like shark medicine month, I feel like.
Yeah, they need to move Shark Week to this week.
Yeah, like to Scorpio season.
Yeah, or even just this week, like with the way things are going. And I think that this is about, it kind of reminds me of, I think it's Little Nemo, where the shark actually is really like smiley. Like show your smile even though you're ready to just destroy it all or be pissed or not happy with the outcome. Just be like, no, we're good.
Yeah.
And actually be real with that.
Yeah, that's the,
like, you know,
that's the medicine.
That is the medicine. Did anybody put a question here or no? No Ouija board. Someone. What I want to get. Let's do that. What is your opinion of a Ouija board? That'll be the last question. I'm super neutral. Like, have you ever used one? Yeah, when I was younger, like way younger. Right. But like, I don't even remember what I thought of it. Like, I'm so neutral to it. When you're like so connected to spirit all the time, something like that, like it doesn't freak me out and it doesn't like trip me up. I'm kind of just like, and I'm like, there's no purpose in that. Like you can just ask. Like, of course. But I feel that during like the time of Scorpio and those things from beyond, Scorpio rules ghosts, the things beyond, and also alchemy and all this is 8th house, right? And occult and astrology. It actually falls on the 8th. But I feel that like with a Ouija board, one, it has to be done with the right people and the right energy and clear the room and clear the intention. But I haven't used one since I was like in the beginning stages of my spiritual growth and being a tarot reader and astrologer. Like we're talking like 12, 13, maybe 14 years ago. And I remember some weird stuff had come through at one time. But I'm like, what if with the energy now? Just like to see.
I just wouldn't fuck with anything. That's
I know.
Like,
See, there's the curiosity in me. My North Node in Gemini. I'm like,
Yeah, it's like, okay, so magic in general, it's just like, it's not play. Like,
of course not.
It's like,
no, that's what I said. If it was all done right and it was with the right people and you cleared the energy of the room of clearing the intention of what's going to come through, and I don't know, but see, that'll trigger people. People in here are probably like, no.
Yeah.
But you know,
it's more just like, what portals are you wanting to open? And if you want to go down those portals and you want to open those things, like...
Well, see, I was never somebody to like paint a pentagram on the floor or any of that stuff. I never got into any of that.
Me either.
And the Ouija board thing, I don't know. But I mean, tarot is very... I could see how people are freaked out by tarot, though, on the outside with the Ouija board and how they can see them very similar. I can see that. I can see that.
It's like asking questions that sometimes there's reasons why there's walls there and that there's not a door there, you know, or there's a reason why that's a secret room, or there's a reason. Like sometimes I think we get so hungry for information that when we find it, it's like, I don't know if I wanted to know that. Like, is it actually helpful to know the day you're going to die? Like,
well, I wouldn't ask that.
I know, but I'm just saying, I gave a very extreme example of where it's like the image of just, we don't need to know everything about it. We don't need to get all those answers and just...
Well, you know, I think that this is a good way to end it, because you know why? I think that all this Mercury Scorpio is going to be everybody feeling like they need a bunch of fucking answers, and they will go to the extremes, and they will go to the end of the line to get them. And so this is definitely not a time to become obsessive, or if you're one of those creep balls that checks people's phones, or you know what I mean?
Ugh,
like people
that just like gave me a stomachache. Don't do that.
I know. I'm just trying to say that that's what this stuff can bring up.
Yeah.
People really start to
stay in your own business.
Yeah. And
mind your business.
Yes. And set dual authentication for your passwords on your accounts.
Yeah, boundaries, boundaries. And psychic boundaries. Like stay in your own psychic lane as well. Like not, yeah, mind your business. Stay in your own inbox. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and I think with Scorpio, this is gonna be. Oof. I'm excited, but I'm also. I've got my seat ready. For all this, and I'm just going to focus on holding the light and having a good seat and knowing that if it's truly light work, it's not going to have to be persuaded on you by some like some resource, especially through outer events that you're not even in. It'll look like you're part of it. But if you look in your world, you're not. That's going to be the big revelation with all the things that have been brought up in the media lately. It's like attaching people to like, well, we are part of this world, or we are part of this. But it's like when you look in your reality, you're kind of like, is this really happening to me?
It's so cryptic.
It's cryptic because what's being shown to us for the first time, the big wake up might actually be that what if it was all manipulation?
Well, just don't be attached to any truth so that you can be open
of course,
to the truth.
Right. But I think that it's been a lot of experimentation to see how far people can get with putting out stories and seeing reactions and using social media to see it. And they've got it down to a science now. I mean, I just go on social media now and I see just people freaking out about they did this or this person did that in the news, and it's like everything's given to that. Like their whole page will be dedicated to the news or whatever. And it's like, this is the bandwagon of the army they're building to just go feed that narrative of whatever.
It just feels like such a drain.
Yeah, and that's what's going to be the drain. And that's also, I think, I hate to use the I love to use the analogies of dark and light. That's the truth. I don't hate it. That there is energy from the dark that is trying to pull people away into a reality that doesn't even exist, that they are going to go create. That's all false.
Yeah, you have a choice. You don't have to buy it.
And I think that's what all of the religious texts speak about. I think that this is going to be a serious time for people to really be okay, because I think that a lot of it is the ultimate test of deprogramming and completely deprogramming a lot of the programs that have been installed in us that are not for the good will be the hardest test ever, when it comes to where it will be some sort of event that shows up that will tap into your religious part, that will tap into your moral compass, that will tap into the unwritten laws of how you should live. It'll tap into all these things and look so like we have to do this or else. And that's when you know it's false.
Yeah, I feel that on like a personal level too, not just even.
And that's the ultimate test of like, yeah. And because when you pull away from that, there's going to be a feeling like you're missing out, that you know, like it's the ultimate of the dark being like, yeah, because I don't ever believe for one second that God would ever make you feel like, yeah, you're missing out or whatever.
Right.
Right. Or you're a bad person.
Yeah.
And there's something about this revelation about religion and all these things too.
The veils are dropping, they're shattering. And it will be for the best for all.
And they planned it well. It's almost like they were like creepy and knew the future. So they made it seem like anybody who talks about this will look like exactly what their idea of the devil's like, you know? Like I wear a lot of black, or I wear rings, or, you know, like it's like the look of idea of like, you know, I look like a typical guy that would like be the devil because I talk about this stuff.
Yeah, no.
Does that make sense?
I mean, it does, but it's also like you're glamorizing in the way that they want you to.
Well, no, it's ironic though that I feel that it's all part of the narrative and the story, and also the ultimate way that they know, because there's a natural part of expression that the brightest light understands its shadow, whereas like there is this narrative in religious culture of like, don't ever go into your shadow. The second you do, run away. Well, as if like, you know.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking of this earlier, and I don't even know why, but I was thinking what you're saying, and how there's an image of good or of purity or whatever, light. And then there's, you know, like, why do people watch you? Like, why do people watch David Palmer, Leo King? And it's because you tell the truth, you know, like you speak truth.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with what I wear.
Why are people offended by David Palmer? Why are people offended by what you say? It's like, because you say the truth. So there's something about like, if you speak the truth and live the truth, that reveals itself. And that comes back to the whole, like, you don't have to prove yourself.
Right.
And I think right now it's like, yeah, if there's been a diminishing of any kind of light because it's been perceived as like its image is not, because it's not showing light in this way or this way. And it's like, actually, like, I think true light is that genuine realness and being authentic. And it's like, yeah, that all of that's going to come up though. We don't have to go dig that out.
Right.
Like, that's all going to be revealed.
We already dug it all up.
Unmask.
This is you brought up something good. Right now, on this time, Halloween's coming, we are not here to go dig up graveyards.
No.
We've already done all that work. That was gnarly work through this decade. And this is the time to have the party on top of it. instead of get the shovels back out and like.
Yeah. Like have closure.
Did I forget the locket on my great-great-grandfather's or grandmother's, hand in the tomb and down in the coffin? Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah. Don't do that. And the second you say
I dropped my jewel in there.
It's kind of like the second we say we're like done with something. Dear God. When we say we're like done with something, we're ready to move forward. It's like you say that, you draw that line in the sand, you said boundaries, and it's like then you're tested immediately. I don't even know what happened.
Well,
Bless you.
But I think he laughed when I said, because the jewel, I have this
Don't
little
hold in
thing
your
and I've
sneeze.
lost probably 5 of them because I'll be doing something, it'll fall in. And I just imagine myself being over some tomb and opening it up and looking for something, and then my jewel like landed in the, like the old hair and think of a dead corpse and like, no, my jewel's in there.
Yes.
Yay!
Dylan's
Oh, no wonder the
back.
energy got so real and deep at the end. I mean, it was real deep the whole time, but at the end here, it got really deep as fuck.
It got Dylan.
It got Dylan, and he just landed down the street, and it's like, whoa.
He's back.
He's back, and he has a lot to drop on us. Total Mercury and Scorpio.
Yeah, he's back from the dead.
That, and he's got the occult, like he's got this knowledge we know, hidden knowledge.
He's always had that
forward. Though. I know, but this is like he went to the temples for real.
I know. No, I'm really, really excited for Dylan to be back.
So
really, my heart's really excited.
Well, I'm so happy that we will be able to do this again, and we'll all write it out.
Yeah.
And follow Sarah. She's on Instagram, Sarah_Paasch, PAASCH.
Yeah. Don't push the river. Ride this one out.
Ride it out.
Yeah.
And don't trip where everything has happened and why it didn't or whatever. Like everything's been in and out. It's just like, just sit on the couch. You're on the couch of a wild ride.
Yeah. We're on it.
Yep. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you on highvibe.tv and see you on the next After Dark.